Welcome to the Speak by Design podcast, where we study personal style, message structure, and message strategy so you can become a consistently compelling force. Let's dig in. We are unpacking the differences between managing up, managing across, and managing down. We covered managing up in the previous lesson. In this lesson, we're focusing on the peer relationships. That's managing across. And is that really different than managing up? Yes, it is, because the difference is we want to heighten cooperation and collaboration. Even though one peer may actually own the decision making, they cannot be acting without the other party's support. Well, what type of peers are we talking about? This could be peers on a team where we both report into the same leader. This could be cross-functional peers where I could be in IT and I have a peer who's in marketing that I'm working closely with. This could be outside of your organization where I'm a consultant and I have a client contact who is my peer level in their organization. But then there are the imaginary peer-like relationships. Suppose I have been told that in the past I've been deferential to senior leaders. A very common piece of feedback we give to people when they're coming across as deferential is we will say, can you perceive yourself to be that person's peer? Can you be more peer-like in your behaviors? And these are the behaviors that are peer-like. We're going to walk through about 7 of these peer-like behaviors, and I want you to see where are you already strong and where could you be stronger in your peer relationships. I gave the example in the last lesson about the CEO and the board of directors. A CEO can be threatened by their board if they believe that their board is more senior and ultimately the decision maker. And then the CEO comes off as very weak and uncertain because they're looking for approval from their board all the time. We encourage CEOs to stand on their own 2 feet. You are in charge. You have the vision. You have the strategy. You know the organization better than they do. They are your peer advisors. And yes, you need their support and endorsement, and you do want their counsel, but you are in charge CEO. So then managing across is a better concept for the CEO in relationship to his or her board. Same thing if you are a consultant and you are serving a very senior leader. It is best for you to think that you're managing across versus managing up so that you show up as strong and assertive. And that's playing with your mindset on how you see this relationship. Your relationship with that senior client is based upon your thoughts about them. And if you see them as a father figure or a mother figure, you will behave like a child. And that is a mental shift to make. So ask yourself if that is in the way before we get into these tactics. All right, so tactic number 1 is deeper listening. Not that you shouldn't listen well for managing up and managing down, but managing across, you want to follow the techniques that Chris Voss would recommend or neurolinguistic practitioners would recommend of labeling and mirroring. And the reason this is so important to the peer is that then the peer feels heard. If you are using their language, not editing their language, which if you were the boss, you would likely edit your junior person's language so that they stay on message with you. But when you're with peers, you want to demonstrate that you hear them and validate them, give them that validation that they are not speaking in a vacuum, that you are listening. So what does labeling and mirroring mean? It means that when somebody is frustrated and you can visibly tell that you say, Mary, it sounds like this has been frustrating. What can our team do to make this process easier for your team? Now, mirroring is repeating their last words or the words that you can tell they're using repetitively and are emotional for them. For example, If your counterpart says, we need a tech enabled platform that can help us do this, something that uses AI, then in my response, what I could do to show that I was listening would be mirroring back the phrases tech enabled platform and then also incorporating AI. It does not mean that I have to repeat them exactly the way they said them to them. I don't have to be a parrot, but I can probe on what they said. A tech enabled platform. What did you have in mind? Or I could go to the AI piece and say, AI, what type of use case for AI do you see? And by probing on either one of those, and maybe both over the conversation, it is clear that I am listening. Now, I also want to listen to their priorities because if someone is not taking action on your recommendation, they likely have different goals than you do. And the only way to figure out what is off, what is not in sync, is to find out what their goals are. And sometimes we ask that in terms of priorities. You could say goals, but this works very well is to say, I know we have a lot going on and you are wanting to prioritize your time. What is taking greater priority over this initiative right now? That's one way to ask it. If it is a friendlier conversation where you're just getting to know each other, then maybe you could say, tell me about the priorities that you're setting for the team. Tell me about the quarterly priorities, or what's the primary goal for this quarter, for this week? Or as it relates to our project, what's most important for you to accomplish from your perspective? And those questions are very helpful for understanding how they are looking at the effort. Because if they're not acting the way you expected, it's likely that the priorities and goals are off. They're not in sync. And that's where you could go next. The other thing is that your view of success might be different than their view. And that's why the question, what does success look like? That's why that is such a popular question. I have noticed when that question comes up, you see a lot of fog in people's eyes and they seem confused, like, I don't know what success looks like. If you wanted to try this version of the question, I find this is better. What is the outcome we're looking for? An outcome feels more quantitative, and they might give you a metric, a KPI that they want to watch for that. And that's a little bit easier to answer. If you say, what does it look like in the future? That is more creative and imaginary language. If you're dealing with a creative, they might love the question framed that way. For your more quantitative, analytical folks, they will find that harder to answer. There's a great book called Turn the Ship Around by David Marquette, where he gets on a ship that had bad morale, low morale, and he uses a line of questions to turn the culture around on the ship. And the questions he asks are things like, what are you secretly hoping I fix? What are you proud of achieving and accomplishing? And by asking these questions, he builds trust with the people. Plus, he remembers what they said and he acts on their recommendations. Well, imagine asking those questions of a peer, of your peer contact in an outside organization or your peer in a different cross functional area, asking them what they're proud of, asking them what you can do to make their life easier. Those types of questions open up the other person to look at you as a friend and a supporter, not an adversary. When there is dysfunction in an organization or relationship, that's what two professionals can become, where they're working against each other because they're so worried about how they look and how they appear and that their priorities will not be achieved. Instead of seeing the higher level goal, they get stuck by their role. We don't want our roles to define us to the point that we lose sight of the overarching goal. And that is why it is helpful to begin a communication with a peer with the overarching objective. Remind them of the organization's goal, not your goal from your team, but the bigger, broader picture goal that both of you are supporting. And that helps align both of you. Then you can go into the points of conflict and where we need to answer some questions and ease some friction. But begin with the overarching goal. There's a line of questioning that we developed to help peers collaborate more. And here are the questions. It's a 4-part question series. The first question is, what do you want to learn from me? Second is, what do you want to teach me? Third is, what do we want to build together? And number 4, what do we want to experience along the way? So here's how you might answer those questions. What do you want to learn? I want to learn from your team how to use this piece of technology. Teach. I want to teach your team how we conduct business so that you have a better understanding of our processes. Build. We want to build an application together that incorporates both of our processes and all of the handoffs and hopefully save us hours of time every time we run this process. Experience. I want to experience fun when we get together, short meetings, people being organized and on time for those meetings, laughter, and friendship. Now, maybe it feels weird to say all of those things, so say it in a way that feels comfortable for you. But by putting those questions on the board or saying, this is what we're discussing today, or making it sound like a conversation over a cup of coffee, does mountains of good for a relationship. Great things for a team as well. Now, if you don't want to make it a dialogue, if you need to deliver this to the masses, maybe you have 30 people in a room and you are the leader and it is right for you to share all of this, you could speak this into the room and say, this is a very important group of change champions, all from different functional areas. There's so much you all can learn from each other, so much you can teach each other. You are going to build something great together, and we are going to have fun all along the way. That's me using learn, teach, build, and experience as an opening moment to a workshop or a big problem solving meeting. I could even use that in a town hall message. What that does is it fosters better peer-like relationships so that people are managing across more effectively. All right, that is all listening. I know that was rather juicy for listening, but that's how important listening is. And what people say, if you do ask someone, what do you want to learn? What do you want to teach me? Make sure you capture what their responses are instead of reloading in your mind what your next question is going to be. Really listen, because if 2 weeks later you remind them what they said they wanted to learn and what they said they wanted to teach you, that goes a long way. Listen, listen, listen. That's a great way to build trust and strengthen a relationship. Now, do you remember the 5 love languages? I want to share 3 of them that are very effective for managing across. The first being quality time. And this is you finding the time to meet with them for coffee, for lunch, for a breakfast. It's also you finding the time for regular one-on-one meetings with the person, maybe every 2 weeks. It's you asking to give them a tour of your team's location or the plant, something operational that they wouldn't get access to. It's you letting them teach you something. It's you teaching them something. That's all quality time. Then there's words of affirmation. Have you told this person that they're doing a good job, that you appreciate their input, that their people are good? Can you champion their direct reports? Shine a light on this peer. Help other people see what your peer is working on, the successes that they're having. If your peer tells you a success story, go repeat that story to other people. Talk about how great that peer is, as well as that peer's people, how they're so good. By shining a light on them, they may never know that you said that, but at some point, you've helped them be successful. And if they do find out, it'll make them genuinely appreciate you even more. Now, the third love language is acts of service. And this is what can you do? And this is what you should ask yourself. What can I do to make my peers' life easier? Just like you would for your supervisor. Is there something you could do or say to them, to their people, to their stakeholders to help make their processes smoother and remove roadblocks for them? Help them out. And that could be by teaching their people, offering resources if someone on your team has capacity, instead of overprotecting and hiding your resources so because you don't want to share them. That is a dysfunctional defensive response. Now, these peers will know you professionally, but that's not enough. You do also want to have a personal relationship with them. You're missing out on a whole level of depth if all you do is talk about work with them. Find out what they like outside of work. Get them to talk about their people, their passions, and their dreams. So find out who are the people they love. That could be family members, significant others, that could be their pets. And then their passions. How did they get interested in this work? What do they do for hobbies? Where do they like to travel? And then dreams. What do they want to do in the future? Where are they going in their career? What do they want to do when they have time off? What do they want for their people that they love? But what are all those future visions that they have in their head for their life? Now, you're not going to get them to share openly about themselves on deep topics like that unless you're willing to share yourself. It's a give and a take, give and take. One other thing to keep in mind with your peers is if they are the last to know about a change, they feel less important. And if they feel less important, they're going to do the same to you. They don't mean to retaliate, but you become less important to them too. When you have an update, give them an early look at the content if they're involved in that content. So, for example, let's say I'm a consultant and I'm about to release some data to a steering committee. I want to preview that with my client contact before it goes to the steering committee. And I might even let my client contact be the person who delivers that data. I don't need to be the hero. I want to set up my client to be the hero. Look for ways you can do that where you're giving your peer the opportunity to be the owner, to be the one who gets the credit. And some people will say, well, I need to champion myself more. Do you? Do you really? Or could this be a move that you allow your peer to be the one and you will gain more in the relationship by letting your peer be the one? And if it doesn't get reciprocated later, then you know this person is just a taker and not a giver, but you can be a giver. And that's the theme of managing across, be a giver. If you are starting to work with a new peer, my best advice for setting that relationship up the right way is to look for ways to be incredibly generous upfront. What can you do to help them build relationships with their stakeholders and help them have some early wins in the office so that they feel confident and they feel a warmth and friendship toward you? Now, will things go off the rails with peers? Always. Something you can tell that peer in advance is when things go off the rails, as we know things do, Please pick up the phone and call me. We will work it out. Let's give each other the benefit of the doubt, always. Let me leave you with one final mental exercise. Think of a person who you trust implicitly, that this person could tell you to do something really bizarre and you would listen to them, that you appreciate any advice they give you. You have that person in mind. Now, I want you to place that person's face on your peer's body so that when your peer is telling you something difficult or giving you harsh feedback because they're stressed or under pressure, that you take that feedback as though it were that person you love and not from a critical place. So, just as we want to control the way we deliver messages, we can also control the way we receive them from our peers. And it doesn't have to hurt. We don't have to get defensive. We can take the emotion out of it. We can summarize this entire lesson on managing across with 2 actions. And these are actions you could start taking today, right after listening to this lesson. The first is listen more deeply, more actively. Get so curious about your peer. And the second is be a giver. Shine a light on them, help them get credit, help them be seen and heard, give them early looks, and let them pass along the information themselves. All right, start putting this into practice. You will make some great relationships at work. Take care, everyone. Have a good day. If you are enjoying all of these lessons, but now you're hungering to turn all of this into skills and habits that make this work intuitive and natural so that you don't have to think about it, then you want to join Speak by Design University. That's our coaching program that gives you private coaching, group coaching with me, group training, self-paced learning, as well as exceptional networking with other people like you. This program is for managers and above, people whose careers are on fire and they're looking to hit their next level, and they want to do that sooner rather than later. Check it out at speakbydesign.com/join. That's speakbydesign.com/join, and you can start with us at the 1st of next month. We hope to see you there.